Okay, so this is the 2025 Toronto Grand Prix Women's 400 meter freestyle. We are in Heat 1 taking a look at Kaitie Maravino. Let's back this all the way up actually to the start. We're going to watch the race and then we will do an analysis. Okay, here we go. Very nicely done. Pretty easy heat for you by the looks of things. Let's come all the way back to the start. Let's take a look at the dive to begin with. Pretty good position on the blocks. Liking the angle on the back leg there. I like that whenever the go has occurred, your first reaction is clearly to press that back leg. Though, I'd like to see maybe a bit more. You almost see you roll forwards so far, and then it's almost like you get your press. Try and drive that back foot a bit harder, maybe. And we can see that you're not entering in a totally streamlined, well, you're entering in a streamlined body position, obviously, but the streamline doesn't follow through, right? And we can see that you have a little bit of a concavity to your body line. The initial angle of attack might be a little bit low, and when I'm saying angle of, well, I say attack, but I mean angle of entry. Taking the surface line, surface water line as our flat, and then your body line as the angle, right? I don't have a hard and fast number for what is good or what's not. I think it's different body to body, basically, but I can see that, you know, that you're going to kind of flop in, and it doesn't help that your hips and down, even in the air, we can see that they're not, I mean, this is a recoverable position. If we can continue with a bit of a pike, if our hips can go higher from this point and help follow in this angle rather than this flat, right? This flat's going to do, if it's just going to travel forwards, it's going to flop, right? Belly flop. This angle, we're going to enter the water nicely. You meet almost up, but we can still see that this angle and this angle are two different, right? Like you have that angle going on. So this, if you were able to line up fully, probably would have been a very, very, very smooth entry compared to that. That's not the worst entry ever, to be clear. But next steps with your dive, try and getting a bit more of an arc, get a bit more of a pike going on. And that might come from fully driving off that back foot. And here's the other thing. We can see that front leg, it's very extended. It's kind of hidden behind your arms here. But as soon as you raise your hands, we can see that your leg is almost straight, right? If I put you under a squat rack and, you know, you started with, or, okay, like we throw a weight on your shoulders, and then I only asked you to do a squat to this depth, right? You're moving a couple of inches down. You'd be able to do so much weight, right? Because the work's not so hard. Your range of motion is very limited if you're only going to this squat. High weight, but low actual mechanical work being done. We want as much mechanical work to be done, not only in the weight room, because that's how we get stronger, but like when we're in competition, when we're in race, when the thing that we're applying the weight room to is in play, we want to do work, right? And your front leg, your dominant leg, theoretically, just doesn't have the ability to do work. We're going to see an extension on the front leg for sure, but it's not much of an extension, right? You are only giving yourself a few inches of potential motion under your power leg. So great, we get an extension, but it was already extended. We want to consider ourselves like springs. And we want to be coiling those springs. So maybe a bit more bend in the front leg. You can play with that by leaning forwards out to a farther point of balance, right? You can honestly just collapse that front leg a little bit and play with that, because by the time that we are out here, we want to be essentially having a breakdown of two steps. We want that back leg to get extension, get us moving, get us accelerated, but critically we want to get that back leg so that it's fully extended, and by this point, if this front leg can be loaded for bear, it can be approaching something closer to a 90-degree angle, that's how much tucked up I almost want it to be, then it's able to take over as the power driver, and it's able to launch you out into space a lot better. I'm not seeing, maybe lane 3 it has a good position to compare to, but I'm not seeing much going on I can't even really see what's lane 6 might actually be pretty good. Like we can see that her leg there, she's going to be able to do work now. Now she's kind of falling into the water to start with, so it's kind of a moot point. Let's look at lane 3. Just see if she can't help us see what I'm looking for. By that extension point now, I think this angle is not the best, but at least it looks a bit, I mean, yeah, okay, it is more tucked, more collapsed than your leg is. She's able to get all that work out, right? Whereas you've already completed your work, and yeah, you're leaving the block sooner, but she's getting more work done. So there's an opportunity there for you, right off the bat. And I know that this is a 400-meter freestyle, and that, you know, tiny little things like this technically matter less, but I'm kind of the belief that that doesn't matter, right? If you could get an advantage, if you could take 0.2 off of your swim, even a 400-meter, like, would you like to do that? I would like you to like to do that. Overall, liking your stroke, that left arm breathing. I think, are you breathing the entire time on your left arm constantly? It's just a little like hacky coming down, right? You slap the water almost. Don't really want to mess with your stroke this late in the season, but we can see that you're pulling underneath yourself. You're pulling in a crossover. If I asked you to hop a fence, you would never reach across your body with one of your arms. You'd set your arm, presumably on the, I'm asking you to hop like a 4-foot fence or a 3-foot fence or something, right? Like something you can just kind of vault yourself over. I'm asking you to hop a fence. You're putting your arms basically shoulder width apart on the top rail. You're not bringing them, in front of your sternum even, and you're certainly not crossing them over, or you're certainly not like putting them out at shoulder width and then stepping to the side so that one arm is crossed over you and the other arm is like way outside. Like that would all be very weak. This is a weak position because it's crossing over in front of your body. Not something to necessarily critically worry about at this point. It's something to maybe play with feeling in practice. Your right arm is doing a lot of the work. So I'd love for you to distribute the work required to swim a 400-meter freestyle more equitably between the two sides of your body. Right now, if you had to choose which side we want to do work, it's probably the dominant side. Very smooth exit on that one. This is where, I think what I was saying earlier, do we want to work on, like, our dives is so important because we're doing a 400-meter freestyle. Dives I can get more behind the idea that no, they're not, because you only get a single opportunity to do your dive, well or not, right? And how much are you actually going to yield from doing a slightly better dive versus a slightly worse dive? Well, pretty little probably is the answer, right? But where distance swimmers, I think, need to get their heads wrapped around is you get to do something and you get to benefit from multiplication of skills. You have to do however many flip turns you have to do in a short course 400 or a long course 400. If you can marginally improve your flip turns, marginally, right? I don't need you to do crazy differences, but if you can marginally make your flip turns and your approaches to the wall faster, you multiply that by however many times you have to do a flip turn in this race. And if it's 0.05, right? How many tenths of a second are you going to take off in the total race? And here's the thing: if you were only affecting something by 0.05, you'd be affecting tenths of a second in your total time. You're probably going to be able to find things that affect you and your approaches and your walls better than 0.05. You're probably going to be able to, by not breathing inside the flags, by pushing off the wall slightly harder, by extending your streamline by like a meter. That's all I'm asking, like a meter at speed. Not breathing on the first couple of strokes every length. If you're able to do those things, you're going to take off way more than 0.05 every time you do a wall. And then we're talking about seconds maybe. And I'm not asking you to swim any differently, right? I mean, I was sort of talking about your arms and stuff earlier, and like, what are we doing with our pull and things? Forget that. Throw that out the window. If you could, that's your last breath, say, not do that double breath, right? Breathe left, breathe right. If you could not do that, and if we could do 2 more kicks and get us out a half meter or a meter farther and not be breathing right away, take 2 strokes, hopefully 3 strokes, but even just take 2 strokes not breathing to establish ourselves for our length. Set your hold. Set the stroke rate that you want to be starting the length at, right? If you could do those things every single wall, you'll drop time and you won't have to swim any faster in between the walls. Oh, Gael lost the angle here. He's distracted, checking out the dive tower. There we go. Yeah, that double left-right, you can see you literally slow down inside the wall. The way to win a race is to spend more meters swimming faster than your opponents do. If you swim fast and nice for 45 meters of every 50 meters, but your opponent swims fast for 50 meters out of 50 meters, even if your average speed when you're swimming fast is higher than their average speed, they get 5 meters on you of probably, definitely swimming faster than you. So suddenly somebody that you know you can outswim, right? You're giving them an opportunity. We don't want to give them any opportunity. Give them no quarter. And you know what? Here's the thing. You know how to do what I'm asking you to do because you do it to finish the race. That's your last breath. What if every wall looked something like that coming into the flip? I think you'd be a killer. Great race.